I began my PC gaming life and YouTube life almost 16 years ago when I was barely 13 years old in the game Battlefield 2142. Previous to this, I'd played countless N64, PS2 and GameCube single-player titles, but 2142 was my first proper foray into the multiplayer shooter experience. Are you impressed? I used the word foray. And hot damn, when I got my greasy prepubescent hands on this game, I hardcore no-lifed it all the way up until Bad Company 2 came out. To this day, no Battlefield title, or really any multiplayer game, has quite been able to fill the hole that Battlefield 2142 left behind, and trust me, I've tried. And while some will of course claim that the nostalgia goggles have clouded my judgment, I have realised through the making of this video that my love for 2142 is not just a longing for a childhood lost, but a fair and reasoned yearning for the lost innovation this game introduced into the world that was never seen again. So join me as I explore the incredible features and unrivaled game design of an innovative Battlefield now lost, in this love letter to my favourite game that will likely never exist again.
What's going on? We want to welcome everybody to Gamecasters Battlefield 2142 Invitational presented by Gameplay HD.
If you're a channel surfer, cool your jets. Set down the remote because, Rich, what our audience is about to see, no one has ever laid eyes on.
Oh my god. Oh. Wow. Battlefield 2142 was released in 2006 by DICE and published by Electronic Arts. The game, unlike any Battlefield before it or after it really, is known for its unique futuristic setting and the bold innovations that this entailed. While earlier titles in the series, such as Battlefield 1942, focused on historical warfare, and Battlefield 2 explored modern-day combat, Battlefield 2142 pushed into the future, introducing a wide array of groundbreaking features that set it apart from the rest. All those games, by the way, are made on the Refractor engine. That was the original engine that was used in 1942. I will now be using my narration voice. Battlefield 2142 depicts a bleak future war about a fight for resources. In the year 2106, a new ice age displaces millions globally, with Russia and Japan hit hardest. Struggling to secure resources, the Pan-Asian Coalition, PAC, grew increasingly desperate. Meanwhile, the European Union, supported by resource-rich North Africa through its alliance with the Union of African States, managed to endure. In 2139, the PAC launched a full-scale invasion of Europe and North Africa, igniting the 22nd century's Cold War. A brutal fight for the planet's last habitable land and resources. Remember that this game came out in the early 2000s. At the time, scientists in real life were beginning to link climate change to an increase in extreme weather events, and you can see the inspiration in the game. That's my flat right there. 2,000 a month minimum, spacious, open plan freezer. Something I really love about Battlefield 2142 is its commitment to the lore and the beautiful way in which this is expressed through the maps. The game doesn't have a single-player campaign, so the only way to experience this twisted future is through the level design and a few short accompanying paragraphs in the loading screen. Whether you're traversing the desolate plains of an overheated Highway Tampa or the snowy remains at the Bridge of Ramagan, you'll certainly feel the majesty of a prosperous future crushed within the firm grip of nature's hand. This kind of storytelling has felt somewhat vacant in more modern multiplayer shooter releases. Battlefield 2042, for example, describes a world gripped in the aftermath of a Kessler Syndrome event, causing 70% of the world's satellites to fall from space and a total blackout to engulf Earth. Which sounds pretty cool. And yet, the only reason I even know about this Kessler Syndrome event thing is because I found it on the wiki. You would literally never know from playing the actual game. By the way, for this video I had to reinstall Battlefield 2042 just to get this footage, and if that sacrifice isn't worth a subscription, I really don't know what is. So much lens flare on my screen, man. The point is, 2142 knew what it was and it expressed it really well. Now, let's talk about the reason you clicked on this video. Titan mode. Very few Battlefield titles or popular shooters in general, especially in modern times, are defined by their game modes. This is because every shooter now is either an extraction shooter, a competitive search and destroy, or some variation of conquest. The Titan mode in 2142 was single-handedly the best part of the entire game and a huge missing piece in any future multiplayer release that I've never seen again and really wish would come back. Absolutely textbook. The Titan is a flying fortress, initially created by the PAC to move displaced civilian populations over hazardous terrain. They were later repurposed for war. Sporting 4 ground attack cannons and 2 fast-firing anti-air guns, as well as a hangar bay fit to carry an attack jet and a transport vehicle, combined with drop pods to rapidly and safely deploy troops, shielded behind heavy armor and an outer energy shield. These vehicles became high-value target number 1 on any battlefield. Titan mode tasks players with destroying the opposing team's Titan while defending their own. Anti-Titan missile silos are located at strategic locations on the ground. Capturing these allows teams to fire automated missiles towards the enemy Titan, initially taking down the shields and then damaging the main hull directly. Once the shields are down, players can either continue firing missiles to destroy the hull completely or board the Titan using assault pods, transports or spawn points. Inside, they must destroy 4 reactor consoles to access the main reactor and detonate it. Escaping within 30 seconds before the Titan is destroyed, or not escaping, as is often the case. Oh, that's me! Titans can actually be moved across the battlefield via input from the team's commander and perform a defensive, offensive and tactical role of great importance to the outcome of the round. If you can't already tell, Titan mode is sensational. It uses the full breadth of 2142's large maps, exploits the multi-capability of many of 2142's unique vehicles, and requires teamwork at every stage of gameplay to complete various objectives. Unlike Conquest or Rush, standard Battlefield game modes you see across future titles, Titan mode has a variety of different ways of winning the game that appeal to different players and playstyles. God, I'm the best. Capturing missile silos is similar to Conquest and is required in the early game to access the enemy Titan. The more silos you have and maintain, the faster the enemy Titan shield is going to go down. From here, you could opt to continue to win the ground war and chip away at their hull, something Conquest enjoyers will happily do, but you could also board the Titan, turning the game into essentially an infantry-only rush mode where you have to destroy 2 initial consoles inside the Titan, which open up the next 2 consoles, which open up a final core. Winning a battle inside the Titan is very much a team effort. Getting to the Titan requires air or ground transport, you can't just walk there by yourself. Breaching these tight corridors is grenade spam hell, and also the enemy can spawn here, so your respawn points better be close and well maintained. Also in this game, you can only spawn on the squad leader, so don't think you'll just be respawning easily on whoever you want that happens to be on the Titan. Because of the interplay between the ground conquest mode and the Titan attack rush style mode in one playstyle, you might find yourself flying jets keeping the skies clear of possible Titan attacking transports. In another playstyle, you're on the ground in a tank dominating the ground war. Or maybe you're an infantry player in an APC desperately fighting your way to the enemy Titan's location to pod up. And no, that's not some vaping thing. You shoot up onto the Titan. No, that's a drug thing. You know what I'm saying. The Titan can also be moved by the commander. Maybe you put it in the middle of the map to have an easier time capturing and holding ground points. Maybe you put it in the corner to make it harder for attackers to jump on. Also, just because the enemy Titan shield goes down first doesn't mean you've automatically won. Once your shields are down, a strong infantry Titan assault can beat you faster than your ground dominance can beat them. God, I'm the best. It is, in so many ways, the pinnacle of large-scale multiplayer shooter gaming, and I continue to be shocked that we've never seen this mode, or anything even remotely close, ever again. I cannot stress to you how sad I am that this innovation has been lost. But Titan mode is nothing without the unique and innovative 2142 vehicles that accompany it. Unbelievably clean. The drop pod is a staple of Battlefield 2142 and is equipped to a number of vehicles to turn them from basic transport infantry fighting vessels to essential Titan assault technology. The BTR-20 Yastreb or UD-12 Shepherd armored air transports perform a multi-purpose role of being effective infantry fighting vehicles, mobile team-wide spawn points, and Titan assault vehicles players can drop pod from to attack the Titan. The BTR-20 Romanov and AMV-2 Groundhog APCs perform a similar function on the ground. These vehicles are also fitted with an EMP grenade capable of temporarily disabling any vehicle hit, which you definitely don't use to troll your own team. How you use and manage these vehicles forms the backbone of your team's air, ground, and Titan combat and makes for some beautiful examples of ways in which a game can create teamwork through design instead of artificially ramming it down your throat with arbitrary squad point rewards or something similar. 2142 also came with advanced hover technology, with the PAC getting the mighty Type 32 Nakamoto tank, which couldn't traverse the turret horizontally, but could spin like a Beyblade. The EU had a more traditional tank, which I felt was a pretty brave choice considering very few mainstream games commit to asymmetrical vehicle combat. But it meant that there was actually unique strengths and weaknesses to each faction's tanks, and your understanding of the vehicles directly affected your effectiveness in tank combat. Absolutely schooled him. This hover technology extended to the Type 36 Hachimoto, essentially a hover bike with a grenade launcher secondary seat that could also fire TV-guided missiles, which is pretty wild. What's really crazy about these hover vehicles is that they weren't jank at all and legit actually worked quite well. And you can see how in a snowy or icy environment where conventional roads have been lost, a switch to hovercraft technology seems like an appropriate development. I'm the best to ever do it. Stop looking at me. But we can't talk about the vehicles of 2142 without talking about the iconic Battlefield 2142 Walker. I mean, come on. It's on the bloody box. The Walker of today is a piece of kit old people use to get around the house. But in 2142, the Walker is the L5 Rysag or T39 Bogatyr, both equipped with a machine gun, rocket pods, and anti-air machine gun on top. These bipedal vehicles were introduced into the war for their high firepower and all-terrain capabilities. I'll be honest, in real life, I'd question whether a bipedal vehicle has any kind of effectiveness at all, as I think in general they're far too easily toppled by something as basic as rope. But damn do they look cool. These actually had a little vent on the bottom that you could shoot with any small arms weapon to do damage to the vehicle, which was an interesting touch. One final honourable mention for the A3 Goliath infantry fighting vehicle, a slow-moving, heavy-armed and armoured IFV with unique regenerative cells on the side that automatically repair the vehicle and have to each be destroyed before you can detonate the vehicle completely. Another unique and innovative idea that I don't think I've seen since, but added an interesting layer to multiplayer gameplay that feels sorely missing in modern titles. Overall, I can't help but feel that this collection of vehicles, and I didn't even mention the VTOL jets, offer up a smorgasbord of well thought out and creative ideas that make for iconic vehicle combat you just don't see anymore.
I'm gonna hide here like a little and yeah.
So many games keep it unbelievably bland, with standard tanks, realistic helicopters, and yeah, 2042 did add this hover bike thing, but this doesn't seem to have any rules. You can kind of just do whatever you want with it, and I'd argue doesn't fit within the game world at all. This is like when GTA 5 started adding random bollocks just to keep the GTA money rolling in. Let's switch over to infantry combat. Squads and squad play form an integral part of 2142 and were the main reason I played the game for as long as I did. It's kind of wild that even now there are still people in this game using the in-game VoIP. He's clueless. This game had a class and unlock system as well as loadout customization options, all of which were pretty innovative at the time, but many of those innovations were actually carried forward, and you do see that in a lot of modern games. Now, I could offer up a deep exploration of 2142's unique weapon systems and innovative unlocks, but we would literally be here all day. Shout out to the Clark B shotgun, still the best shotgun in gaming. I am just a shotgun one trick. But what this game also had that seems to have been entirely lost in mainstream shooters was a far more interesting squad leader role. First and foremost, in 2142, the squad leader was the only player in the squad that other squad members could spawn on. This drastically changes the way the game is played and greatly elevates the value of the squad leader within the squad, as not only are they the ones giving orders, but they may also be your only way onto the battlefield. Future Battlefield titles all allow for squad members to spawn on each other, which fundamentally changes the squad dynamic and removes much of the squad leader's intrinsic value, I think for the worst. Also in 2142, the squad leader is given unique squad leader unlocks. Having to choose between a spawn beacon or a spotting drone that follows you around, or a drone with a weak auto turret gun attached. The ammo class could unlock an infantry spotting radar, while the engineer could unlock a vehicle spotting radar. If placed on your spotting drone, you suddenly had a mega spotting drone, turning the squad leader into a mobile UAV, again bringing squads together and elevating the value of the squad leader. In future battlefields, by comparison, squad leaders can unlock arbitrary and not particularly impactful call-ins after farming squad points, which have always felt ridiculously lackluster to me and feel a bit like a spit in the face of 2142's innovative squad leader role of the past. But while we're talking infantry, let's talk about stabbing them. Knife fight. I wouldn't be a Londoner if I didn't talk about the humble knife. In most modern shooters, it's used as a humiliation weapon more than something that actually provides any kind of combat effectiveness, unless you have Commando Pro.
This is the worst commando lunge of all time.
In 2142, this is taken to the next level, not with gimmicky microtransaction hell execution animations, but by giving you the dog tags of the enemy player that you stab and meticulously tracking them forever. Well, I say forever, all the 2142 stat pages are long gone, as is the in-game tracking, but trust me, I had your mum's tags and I had them several times. It was really fun, especially if you played with some regular people or on a regular server, to see just how many times you'd stabbed your mate, and it gave you a reason to chance a knife kill over simply humiliating your opponent. I'm pretty sure some future battlefields had a version of the dog tag collector and added some customization to the tags, but something about the way it was done in this game just feels better than that weird stats in the Battlefield 3 web browser thing they had going on. Now I know that despite my best efforts, Battlefield 2142 was far from most people's favorite battlefield. I mean, if these sales figures are to be believed, it's literally the least popular game in the franchise, and it's not even close. It's so unpopular that this other Battlefield stats page doesn't even include it in the list, and that's pretty devastating. Not only does this show that once again my opinion is wrong, not only does this almost certainly doom this video to a life of never being watched by anyone, but it's also devastating because I think this game offered up impressive, innovative ideas in a gaming package that I don't think I've ever seen again, and based on the sales figures, probably never will see again. Obviously, this game was released just a year after the far more popular Battlefield 2, which was probably a mistake, and existed in a world where modern combat was definitely where it was at, and future combat was of absolutely no interest. I think, to be honest, we're kind of still in that world, but that's also pretty sad, because I think with a game focused on a conflict in a time that doesn't yet exist, the developers are given the license to create something you've never seen before, full of stuff entirely unique to the imaginations of the talented people on that team. I think the only shooters that come close to the innovations of 2142 are perhaps Titanfall and The Finals, and unfortunately both of those games are kinda niche. There's an argument to be made there. I'm calling them niche. Certainly not failures, but I mean, they're no Call of Duty. I look out across a first-person shooter gaming landscape, and it just feels like everyone is making generic copies of the same thing over and over again. And I get it, you got shareholders, the stakes are high, innovation is risky, and frankly, you only have to look at the example I've used in this video to prove that innovation is not always the path to financial progress. But seriously, just look at the 2142 trailer. Imagine if the 2142 trailer dropped today. I mean, look at it, it's sick. I want to play that game. Battlefield 2142 is a shell of its former self. As much as I sing its praises in this video, the game today definitely feels somewhat lacking. Unfortunately, it's not because of the game itself, but because of the lack of people playing it. And also because the people that are still playing it may be the sweatiest god gamers I've met in my entire life.
What?
And while I will tell you that the Reclamation project exists and that you can follow a link in the description if you want to try this for yourself, I will warn you that it may not be the 2142 that you remember. What the f*** is this? Can we just play Titan, please? Unless this video pops off, in which case it might be an incredible time to play 2142. I have all my fingers and toes crossed, and no, I'm not showing you my toes. At least not for free. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, you're probably a lot like me, which is frankly the biggest compliment I could give anyone, and you should definitely like and subscribe. You should also watch another one of my videos. This deep dive on Foxhole, another niche game, is practically legendary at this point, or why not take a look at the best World War II simulator you've probably never even heard of. Thank you very much, and I will see you in the next one.